Welcome to the April 25th meeting of the CETA Committee. I will call this meeting to order, and the first order of business will be a roll call.
Jay Allen.
Present.
Mario. Mark Hamilton.
Present.
Dan Hardy.
Here.
Joe Maldonado.
Here.
Andy Potts.
Here.
Jenny Sanders.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. The next item of business on the agenda will be introductions of our new members, and I'm going to turn to my left to Alder Jay Allen, who's not a new member of this committee. He's been on in the past. But Jay, if you'd introduce yourself and give us a few words, we'd appreciate it. So welcome.
Well, I'm Jay Allen. I'm a member of the City Council. I'm a former mayor and was on the City Council for a long time before that. And I was on this committee once before, and here I am again. So
Welcome
that's
back.
it.
Welcome back. It might help for us to introduce ourselves to Jay if he doesn't know anybody around the table. So I'll look to my left, and Andy,
We've met.
you probably know each other. Jay, you know me. Jenny?
Hi, I'm Jenny Sanders. I think we've met before. I'm a realtor here in town.
You know the people on the right, and you probably know Dan.
Oh, yes, I know Dan.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome, Jay. We look forward to this. This is a committee I think does a lot of good things for our community, and we work quite hard to get it done. So we appreciate your input, and we will go from there. The next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of March 28th. So you got the minutes in your packet. Is there any discussion points folks need to raise?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion made by Andy, seconded by Dan. Is there any further discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, we'll move approval. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Opposed, same sign. They are passed. Okay. The next item on the agenda is public appearances for non-agenda items. I see two in the room. One in the room back behind Dan. And there is nobody. Is there anybody online that wishes to appear for anything?
Claire's here for an agenda item.
Okay. Oh, hi, Claire. I see you on there. Okay. All right. Then we will move on to the resolution and the ordinance. I will turn it over to Mike and Joyce. Resolution R7024, which is a contract between the city and Sustain Dane to participate and fund the Efficiency Navigator program. So, Joyce and Mike, the floor is yours.
So I'll give a little bit of background. I'm sure you guys are well aware of this project. We've been talking about it for quite some time. What we have before us today is actually the contract with Sustain Dane to start the process. So what they'll be doing is they're going to be managing the project, and the contract is for them to start the outreach, data collection, and whatnot. And then once that is done, they will be bringing forward the projects that and the landlords that are interested in making the sustainable upgrades. Is there any questions from CETA on the project? Jay, are you familiar with this one?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I thought so.
Yeah, we have about $8 million in the fund, I think. And
Yep. I think we have a set aside of $390 to do this project, but we may have some opportunities to do some more, depending upon how things go. Do you have any questions for Claire?
And Joyce, do you just want to explain how we're breaking it out with the administration and auditing at this point in time, and then we'll be coming back for the money for the actual work product?
As Mike said.
Okay.
Yeah.
But just to give a little more background,
Yeah,
we worked with finance.
So this is a different kind of approach to the way we would do a project like this, since we can't expect a nonprofit to float, paying contractors and, purchasing equipment and whatnot. So we will be coming back after the assessments are done and we have projects lined up. We'll be coming back for approval for those projects with a kind of a, looking at maybe a prepayment type structure. So Elevate and Sustain Dane can move forward with the projects. So this is just for the contract for administration, and each one of those projects will probably have to come back as a separate item for approval.
Do we need a motion on the resolution?
We do.
Okay. I will entertain a motion on the resolution.
I'll make a motion
Move to approve.
I'll second.
That's moved, and Joe, is that is that you, Joe? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep.
So-
Yes, it was.
Okay, so it was moved by Andy, seconded by Joe, or vice versa. Is there any further discussion on the ordinance resolution?
This is just one of our 3 programs that we're working on right now. So this is for the existing housing stock and efficiency upgrades and renovation. Under my update later, I'll give you the recap of where we're at with the affordable, with the market rate, and then also the rent-to-own program.
Yes, I think, as Jay said, this is not new to us. It's been for us before in the discussion phase, so it looks like we're ready to go forward. So if there's no further discussion, we will take a vote on the resolution, and all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Okay, we are passed. Next item on the
Thanks,
agenda.
Claire.
I'm sorry. What?
I just said thanks to Claire.
Oh, thanks, Claire. Next item on the agenda is the hotel room tax report.
So we have a request before us from Site Selection. They're actually doing a feature in July on Wisconsin. And they're looking at, as you can see, the advanced manufacturing, aerospace, biotech, medical device, semiconductors, automotive, e-commerce, and then they're also doing food and beverage. Mike and I talked about this one, and we would like to do a half-page ad in this. This one seems a little more reasonable than the ones that we've looked at in the past. So a half-page ad is $3,750. This would be coming out of line item 345, in which we have a balance of, or a budgeted amount of $25,000. So we're requesting that you approve the ad, and our friends at the chamber will design and get the ad together for us.
I would just chime in to add that one of the reasons, timing-wise, to do it is not only the focus of this issue, but with the Hartung Brothers land now along Highway 14 and in tax increment district, and then with the TID that we're hoping to create north of Lacey Road, from Lacey Road to Commerce Park there, we will actually have some available land in our inventory. So we'd like to get kind of some visibility and marketing out there that we would have land and inventory available for industrial and business type prospects there. So that's why the timing is aligned with looking to do something.
Okay, and Joyce, you indicated we need to approve you spending these funds, so we'll entertain a motion on spending funds for this advertising.
Well, I'll move approval. Then I have a question. Does this, I see that you're doing this out of room tax revenue. Since we are talking about the TID, could this be a TID eligible expense?
That's a good question. I guess we didn't look at that just because we have the line item in 345, as Joyce indicated, and in there it identifies marketing dollars, for that. We could check with Misty on that. We'd have to split it probably then between the Hartung TID and then hopefully the TID number 18 that's coming forward to council on May 14th for consideration there. So that could be an option.
Well, the only reason I ask is because we have so many restrictions on what happens with hotel room tax, and we have a little more flexibility with the TID. So if there's a way we can, because the TID money has to be used for stuff within that area, but the room tax money could be used anywhere in Fitchburg.
I think Misty maybe would ask the question of, we maybe would only be able to do a percentage to the TIDs because we couldn't necessarily attribute it all to those areas. Because we've got other kind of business park or commercial areas that maybe this would generate interest and activity. But we could ask the question. So if we could maybe get it authorized
A
through
conditional
room
approval?
tax. Yeah,
Okay.
and then we'll have the conversation with Misty just
Okay.
to kind of see if that's possible. The only other question that Misty probably would have is we're just starting to maybe have the first project in increment in Hartung with the apartment building that's under construction now, and then we wouldn't have any, kind of new projects. Well, we'll have the first one was hopefully Sub-Zero coming in TID 18, but we don't have a lot of cash flow in the two TIDs at this point in time.
So,
And Jay, this comes out of the 30%, not the 70. So this is kind of more discretionary spending than if it's a 70%.
Yeah.
So I don't think there would be a problem taking it out of room tax, but.
Okay.
May I agree with Jay? I don't think there's a problem taking out of room tax, but to his point, that 30% it's the smaller piece of the pie. So, however we can get those dollars to stretch. So, actually, it would almost be like a not to exceed $37.50 if we can get one of the TIDs to pay for some of it.
so would you two consider that a friendly amendment to the motion you seconded?
Sure.
Push forward. So take a look at that and see what
Okay.
makes the most sense. So if you would do that. So is there any further discussion then on the matter at hand? Hearing none.
We need
I'm
a
sorry, Joyce.
second.
Oh, I have a second.
Oh, you do?
Jay
Okay.
and Andy. Jay made the motion, Andy seconded. So we're ready to take a vote. So all those in favor of the motion with the slight change we made to it, signify by saying aye, please. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. You guys can proceed with that. Next on the agenda are the Greenfield and... I'm
we
sorry.
have another request.
You didn't have it on the agenda.
Yeah, it says marketing.
Oh, sorry, I got an old agenda. Okay.
So we have no supplies for our giveaways and we have the Entrepreneurs Conference coming up in June. So we're making a request for $3,000 to purchase some pens, notebooks, miscellaneous, and I will work within my budget to find the best deal, as always.
Okay. And that money will come out of...
That same line item.
Okay,
Yep.
same line item. So we need a motion for that.
Correct.
Okay. I will make the motion to accept that proposal. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second. I seconded it, or I made the motion, Jenny seconded it. Is there further discussion on that purchase of up to $3,000 for miscellaneous items to hand out? Hearing none, we will go and move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
I do want to make a disclaimer, though. I will not be purchasing Fitchburg socks. If there's any questions on that.
Go ahead, Jay.
Just as a helpful item on this, the agenda line item says hotel room tax request for marketing giveaways and site selection
Right.
ad. And I think if we're doing multiple items like that, they should be separate line items on the agenda. So those should probably have been like an A and a B.
Thank you for rescuing me, Jay. I thought we were done with that topic. Anyway, thank you. If you guys could do that in the future for us, that'd be great. So next, we're ready to move on to item 8 on the agenda, the Greenfield and South Stoner Prairie neighborhood plans.
And we have our colleague Deanna Schmidt here from the Planning Department, and her team has been hard at work on 2 neighborhood plans, which is unprecedented in kind of Fitchburg's history here at the same time. So we'll turn it over to Deanna to give us an update on their progress to date.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me this morning to just give you a brief update of where we are. Excuse me. So we've had an overall open house for both neighborhood plans that we welcomed the entire community. We have a steering committee for each one of the neighborhood plans. The steering committees have each met 3 times. We have held another open house for South Stoner Prairie, and then we've had 2 neighborhood meetings specifically for Greenfield so far. So that kind of gives you a broad overview of our public engagement piece. I missed one. We have done a online survey with South Stoner Prairie, and shortly we'll be opening the survey, the online survey that is open for the entire public in May for Greenfield. So brief scope of our general neighborhood and community engagement piece. At this time, staff with the consultants have prepared bubble diagrams, which were included in your packet. These are just kind of broad areas. They're not meant to show particular boundaries, but they are just meant to start exploring the relationships between different types of land use. So thank you, Mike, for getting up that picture of this is Greenfield. We've actually done 3 different bubble diagrams for Greenfield that are showing a range of different uses. The first one, option A up there, is probably the one that is showing the most agricultural and agricultural related development. In Greenfield, we have a significant interest expressed by both existing residents and by property owners to protect open space and to protect our agricultural heritage. So with this, with the Greenfield neighborhood, we're working to balance our goals for housing, economic development, but still understanding the desires for the existing community here in Greenfield, who highly value their open space and their agricultural landscapes. So that's what this one is talking about. A land use here called agri-hood. That might be something that's a little bit new to you all, and it doesn't show up a lot in the planning world, but agri-hood just means this mix of residential uses that incorporate the ability to have agriculture, whether that's community gardens, whether that's smaller scale agriculture. So it's looking at how we can weave together future residential with our agricultural uses. So that's where this one is kind of focusing on, that agricultural uses.
Deanna, did you determine that by by surveys or meetings, or how did you figure out that kind of their main concerns were this green space?
Yes, so for Greenfield now we've had 2 neighborhood meetings, both of them kind of work session that we specifically invited the neighborhood to come forward. In addition, staff has met with all of the major property owners that were willing to meet with us. Not all the major property owners have been willing to meet with staff, but the staff has met. And in those meetings, we explored their future desires for where they want to be with their properties in the future. And then we take public comments. We have an open email that we take emails from the general public.
Would you say that was the biggest point of conversation, was the green space
And
concerns?
agriculture,
And
yeah.
the agri-hood?
Yeah, I think in general, the opposition to any new development is pretty strong here. I don't know if I said that. I don't know if you want to add anything, Mike and Joyce.
I think their biggest challenges is this is an infill development, and so people want to see things left alone. And I think based on what I've heard at the neighborhood meetings, I think the neighbors haven't really realized that this has been in the planning process for many years. And they think it's something new that the city is presenting them with. Some of the concerns that I've heard is, how come you're looking to bring in more land when Uptown isn't developed? That's a concern. I think that they want to know why we're not moving more from the west to the east. There's a lot of questions and concerns out there about this particular neighborhood. It's been a real challenge for the planning department to address all the concerns, because sometimes they don't really have answers as to the FUDA maps and how they were developed and why certain areas weren't included and others were. Does that pretty much sum it up, Mike?
Just one other technical kind of economic consideration is just the cost of the utility extensions there and how those assessments are handled in the future going forward.
This is Oregon School District? This
Yes.
Greenfield
Yeah,
neighborhood?
this is going to be
That's what I
Oregon.
thought. Yeah, okay. Are there any concerns from the Oregon School District in terms of more people, more kids?
No, I think that they're quite comfortable, and they do their long-range planning. The Oregon School District has a representative on our steering committee, so they're well aware of the planning process and quite capable of incorporating development in this area into their future development plans.
Questions or comments, Deanna, on the Greenfield neighborhood?
I think the Oregon School District's eyes were opened about 20 years ago, 25 years ago, when we did the what is the name of the name? Swan. The neighborhood plan covered more area. What was
The Nine Springs.
Nine Springs neighborhood plan. Oregon School District looked at Swan Creek and said, oh my God, there's going to be 910 dwelling units. I don't know what we're going to do with that. So they made a deal with the Madison School District to swap Swan Creek for part of one of the hotels over on Fish Hatchery Road. And they were concerned that they were going to have too much enrollment. And what happened is the other developments that were happening in Oregon did not build out the way they expected. And so then they ended up in a declining enrollment situation, and they realized they made a giant mistake. In addition to creating a situation where Swan Creek is in the Madison School District, and it's completely surrounded by the Oregon School District. So it was just a bad decision, and I think they are not going to make any more bad decisions like that.
Sounds like everyone on your committee.
We do have a rep on the committee.
Yeah.
Can I just add, Mark, one of the other considerations here is just the possibility for some additional business park land between the railroad east of the railroad and west of Highway 14 there. That's something we've been encouraging just because we're in short supply of kind of general business and industrial park. We've got, as Joyce indicated, land in Uptown, but that falls under our smart code zoning, so we could use some additional just general category there. And then I think just from a housing standpoint, we're in need of housing stock across all continuum, everything from multifamily units to duplexes to townhomes to single-family lots.
Okay, is there further discussion or questions for Deanna on the greenfield? Hearing none, Deanna, you can move on. I'm sorry, Jane, go ahead.
So of the options here, are you leaning, was there some sort of a?
Oh, yeah, that's my fault. I should have kind of talked about our next process here. So we are already moving from our bubble diagrams here that are just kind of those general land use areas looking at relationships to actually refining that for greenfield into two options that would actually look more specifically at road layouts and how the different pieces and parts will start to really look once we get more specific to the shape of the land, where all of our wetlands are. And then the other thing probably we should talk a little bit about, Mike, is just your thoughts about an interchange, right? So greenfield is one of the challenges here. There's been long-term discussion about another interchange between Lacey and MM. And so we have been exploring some options about where that interchange could sit. This one is showing an interchange on option B, is showing an interchange right on Irish Lane. And then on our option C, we moved it a little bit more to the north. There's challenges in both cases with an interchange here, both at Irish and to the north. At Irish, of course, Irish has a lot of existing residential homes and driveways. Doing improvements to accommodate a future interchange along that right-of-way could be a challenge. And then moving an interchange to the north is a challenge due to the wetlands that come down through this area. And then, of course, the city approved a solar farm in this general area last year. So there's some challenges here. Staff and the consultants are still working through. If you all have any thoughts, considerations, don't hesitate to reach out. Happy to take a call or sit down with anyone to kind of talk through your thoughts on the three different options as we kind of move into the next stages.
Deanna, I'm going to change hats and add one to this, and you know probably what I'm going to say. We need to look about how we're going to move pedestrian and bicycle traffic through these new developments.
Yeah.
Cyane Road is not a very good road to ride on a bicycle, particularly as you get past where they just have gotten done redoing it. But as you get out there, Burn Road's not any better either.
No.
And that cars are going pretty fast. So just please put that into your planning, whether it's to look at multi-use paths that can be alongside, or that you definitely slow the traffic down and put bike lanes on those roads. So just make sure it's in your plan.
We will.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mark, I would just add on the interchange, that's a long-term proposition, kind of 10 to 20 years as far as working with WISDOT. We've had a preliminary conversation with them, and they're not used to people kind of coming to them proactively to talk about a future interchange. It's usually all of a sudden the development's there, and then people are coming to them saying, you know, we need the infrastructure. So they're trying to figure out internally how to kind of work with us through this neighborhood planning process. But one of the other reasons to think about an interchange long term is one of the other FUDAs along this corridor is on the east side of Highway 14, which is the East Highway 14 FUDA. So as we continue to kind of come down this Highway 14 corridor, that's one of the next FUDAs that then runs along the east side of the highway. So the interchange would serve both sides eventually, although as Deanna pointed out, some of the land on the east side is kind of in solar use for probably the next 25, 30 years
Yes.
on the east side.
Mike, wasn't there an issue when they closed the ramp and the koi? It seems to me there was some big fight to keep the on-ramp open, but you couldn't get on going towards Oregon because we were going to have the new ramp up, and they were too close. I remember some discussions.
Yep, we had to take
about
out some of the ramps there because of the distance to the new Lacey Road, interchange there. This one, Deanna, in the two spots that we have, kind of meets their distance requirement because they look at this as a kind of an urbanizing area there, and then the distance, is it 2 miles or 3 miles from?
I believe it's 1 mile in urbanizing sections and
Okay.
then 2 miles in a more rural.
Okay.
Those are some general standards. I mean, there's so many different factors that will go into this, but I think just from a staff level, we feel important that it is important to start discussing this, and the land uses will need to match, the potential for a future interchange, right? Those pieces fit together.
Okay, any further discussion on Greenfield? Hearing none, continue to your next project.
Sure thing. So, we actually did just 2 different options in our bubble diagrams for South Stoner Prairie, and part of the reason is that in general, this is a little bit more straightforward planning exercises in our world. There are really 4 major landowners here. We don't have an existing neighborhood in the middle of this one. Instead, we have quarries in the middle of this one. In terms of just working with the community and the landowners, this one's a little bit more straightforward. We have 2 bubble diagrams, 2 different options in the bubbles for you. One is focused on, centered on a school. And so when we're doing the bubble diagrams, it isn't that one is going to be moving forward. Usually we think about this as mixing the 2 different options to come up with our next step. So the one before you, option A, is looking at high density, residential, neighborhood mixed, but this one is much more focused on a neighborhood in terms of not having so much business park. And then option B, of course, is showing a much larger business park, neighborhood mixed use up at the corner of Lacey and Fitchburg, and then the south side would be more into the low density residential.
Same question
Sure, yeah.
that I had for Greenfield. So what are you getting pushback on?
What are we getting pushback on? That's a good question. So it's not so much of, so in terms of working with the landowners, we do have a large landowner here on the southeast that is adamant that they don't want any quarry on their site, and they would like to see low-density residential. We are working with another major landowner in this kind of general area. They have indicated that they are not interested in business park here. And they would be more interested in a mix of housing, maybe some of the neighborhood mixed use. This is a challenge for staff and the consultant team because, of course, Commerce Park, an extension of Commerce Park, makes a lot of sense to extend business park in that direction. But we're still working with the landowner of these lands to figure out, can we have a mix of business park, residential, and what that looks like.
So how do you rectify the kind of conflicting requests from from everyone. You can't please everyone.
No,
So-
you just said it.
So how do you make the decision, we're going to go with option A or B? What do you kind of base that on? I mean, how do you get to the bottom of a decision?
Well, we're going to probably have multiple meetings with the landowner. We'll continue that process, and I'm hopeful that we can come to some kind of compromise where they are comfortable. Right now, the steering committee has said we like the residential, we would like to see some business park. That's what our steering committee has said. So that's kind of the direction, and the steering committee is just that. They're kind of aiming us to provide a direction. So our next step is to work to try to find some sort of balance or compromise here. I'm hopeful that we can do that. I think that at the end of the day, we're all interested in good development and meeting the needs of the market too. I mean, I'm sure that staff and the consultants don't want to put something that isn't going to work right on the map. Yeah.
And who's on the steering committee? What's the makeup of?
Oh gosh, help me out here. We have someone who lives from the Quarry Vista neighborhood. We have Edgewood. We have two of the major landowners on the steering committee. We have a couple representatives from the neighborhoods to the east, north of Lacey. And then we have Verona School District.
And Carol Poole.
And Carol Poole from the Plan Commission.
No one in real estate?
No, I don't think we have a specific real estate person there. Well, I should say, though, we did meet with a development group where we pulled together a group of developers and people involved in the development process to get their feedback on both of the neighborhood plans.
Question over here. Dan.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the Verona schools were on the steering committee. Are they the ones pushing for the school site, or I guess what's Verona's level of interest in actually? I mean, we can reserve a spot for a school, but if they don't want to build them.
Their direction has been they're happy to look at a school site within the neighborhood as long as the rooftops are there, right? So they run on this could certainly be an elementary school if we have the sufficient rooftops for that. This option probably wouldn't have enough rooftops to support an elementary school. And so, yeah, they're comfortable working with that. I think it's workable. However, they're just going to be very clear that don't show a school site if we don't have the rooftops.
I have another question too. Back on if you could roll it up, there you go. Where the Edgewood project, is it right there? It's on that side. Okay.
Yep. It's right in here.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I have a couple questions.
Go ahead, Jay.
Does this entire area gravity sewer?
I don't know that the entire area gravity sewer, but I believe that the majority of it will gravity sewer. There could be pockets in here that will not. We won't know that until we move into our actual more specific design. But as you know, Jay, the FUDAs were laid out with the intention of gravity sewer.
Right. And that's the concern I have, because the area to the east of here and Fitchburg Road have flooding issues all the time. Mm-hmm. So I'm concerned that we're going to end up creating a need for another lift station, which we've tried to avoid that, even though we have one now.
Yeah.
We just don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
The other question is Fitchburg Road. If let's say we go with option A, even if we go with option B, probably is going to have to be expanded. So is there enough space under the highway to, under Highway 18 to expand Fitchburg Road going north. I know to the north, when you get north of the roundabout, we're at 4 lanes up there. But south, we aren't. And so how much of a project would that be if we have to expand the space under Highway 18 in order to make this work?
I don't have an answer to that right now. It is, as we move through our next steps, we will look at all the road and what would be needed. I mean, we're not going to put something forward that is just not going to be feasible in terms of the surrounding transportation system either. We're just not quite there yet to start doing that more hard engineering.
Can I just jump in and say, no, there's not space?
Yeah.
People have been looking at just trying to get a wider bike lane in there.
Right.
There's not even space for that.
I think it is very important, I think, from hearing the conversation, Deanna, as you look at this, you've got to incorporate all those other things that boundary, that's a bad word, but anyway, and then moving through them as they come online. So please have the staff take those into account. And they are right about getting under that underpass there. It's not going to fit. So.
One scenario that the steering committee talked about was, could we focus on Business Park just east of Commerce Park Drive? And so as we look to have kind of a blending of the two maps there, could we keep residential west of Commerce Park, get us some business park east, which would then abut that Edgewood College athletic and wellness campus there. So Deanna and her team are going to go back to MSA and just kind of analyze and evaluate that potential scenario or option to see what's possible.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions?
No,
Joyce?
I'm just going to make a comment. So I'm just going to say that in my previous life, working in the real estate end of Fitchburg, I have a concern about building tax base, and not having land for business park is very concerning to me because Mike and I did a quick analysis over the last 2 years, the requests that we have had just from the state, not even phone calls or inquiries, and we have nothing to offer other than we've been fortunate that Payne and Dolan has worked with us on some projects like accommodating space or land for the Promega building. So we have some real concerns about making sure that we have a balance in whatever development comes forward, that we have land for not only housing, but we also have land for us to build that tax base. So that's my concern.
I think it's a valid point and should be taken into account as you move forward. So thank you, Joyce. Other comments about the South Stoner Prairie neighborhood project? Okay. Hearing none. Thank you, Deanna.
Yeah, thanks.
Appreciate you
for having me.
coming, and we look forward to these moving forward and with all of our comments taken into account. All right, next up on the agenda is the Economic Development Report.
Thanks, Mike.
Michael, it's all yours.
A couple of updates for you. TID number 18 is working its way through the process. It was approved unanimously at the Plan Commission, and now we'll go to Finance and Council on Tuesday, May 14th. And then the final Joint Review Board consideration will be on May 30th. That afternoon of May 30th there. Then we have the housing advisory, the housing specialist position. The interviews are going to be this Friday. We've got 4 folks that are coming in. We started out with 6, but we lost 2. One already found a different position, and then the other one, I guess, had some questions with regards to the salary level there. But we've got a pool of 4 that are coming in, and we've got a panel that'll be having those interviews tomorrow on Friday. So we'll keep you posted on that.
What is the salary level?
I think it goes up to 80-some thousand there. I don't remember the top range.
So
dollar
the
amount.
4 applicants that are still in the pool, where are they coming from? What kind of jobs are they coming from?
Some of them have direct kind of housing finance experience from public sector there. Some of them have property management and some real estate, experience. We've got some that are, let's say, more on the younger demographic and that have some education and knowledge, there with some experience. So it'll be interesting to see, the mix tomorrow and everything. And hopefully we've got a good candidate there that we can bring forward to fill the position. Then we've got, on the 3 housing programs, you just authorized the administration and assessment for the efficiency navigator. The affordable within market rate, we're continuing to try and put those parameters together. Joyce and I have a meeting on Monday with Greg and Keith from Ellers to look at that program. We've had some conversations with them venture capital, but it doesn't seem like we're there yet to kind of figure out kind of that balance of what level of participation through a TID district would be needed to kind of incent developers to include 10% of the units at 60% of Dane County median income. So we're going to strategize with Ellers on Monday to see where we go next on that one. And then with the rent-to-own townhome endowment program, we had an internal meeting with administration, finance, and legal. And the next step now is to expand that to include our consultants from H&A, Mike and Steve, with that staff team. And then ultimately, the plan is to bring forward those programs to the council and to the Housing Advisory Committee and CETA. So we're continuing to do due diligence on both of those. Then, let me see, one of the submittals for the next Plan Commission meeting, one that we've been kind of waiting for, is the comprehensive development plan for the quarry site across from Super Target. There's a company out of Grand Rapids, Michigan that's been working on that. Approximately 37 acres, that is, we call it the outfield. So it's the north side of McKee Road and it's the west side of Fitchburg, and then north of Fitchburg where it veers to the east. So what you'll see is that winds its way through the Plan Commission is right along McKee Road. There are 4 kind of single-use, a couple of quick service restaurants, financial institution, and then potentially a car wash on one of the front lots there. Then in the middle, it could be either a collection of what they call the junior boxes, so kind of an assortment of them up to about 120,000 square feet, or it could end up being one kind of large big box store. So the developer's working on that. And then as you veer to the east, between that and the existing housing stock, the multifamily housing stock, there will be a significant multifamily market rate building, probably about 270, 280 units there to bring us some additional housing stock. So they held a neighborhood meeting last week, Thursday, and now the comprehensive development plan will start to come forward. But it would be nice to, again, reclaim a remnant of our town days, another quarry, over there, and bring it into a good productive use since it's in the urban service area already. So,
do they have commitments from any of the stores or
the four single use right on McKee Road? Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, and then he's having serious conversations with either the mix of junior boxes or potential big box, and it sounds like that one there's no commitments yet, and that it could go either direction.
Can I just plug in for a Trader Joe's?
We don't take personal recommendations.
We have shared that already with him, that would be something that there is interest, in the community as far as some other uses and everything there. It's interesting when he was answering the question at the neighborhood meeting about, what kind of determines whether it goes one large big box or the junior boxes, and And he said it'll be economics as far as who's willing to commit there. But he said their preference would be to have it go the junior box route, because then that provides their company, Colburn Hundley, with that portfolio of leasable space. He said if it ends up being one large box, they usually like to just buy their land and own there. So again,
Were
his
there
preference would be the
restaurants?
junior boxes.
I didn't catch it. There were restaurants and bars, kind of thing.
Two
restaurants?
quick serve.
QSRs, yeah, quick service restaurants.
I put in my request too for what I'd like to see there, so.
And then we held a great event yesterday with Dane County Exec Joe Parisi and Kathy Coons with good coverage from Fact TV. So we've got a recording of the event regarding the federal funding that's flowing through the Inflation Reduction Act and infrastructure bill and everything that's geared towards energy efficiency and sustainability. So Kathy was a wealth of information about all the programs and is actually going to be a helpful resource not only for us as local government, but even for our private sector partners, because there's just an unbelievable and unprecedented amount of dollars that are flowing. And her, I think, big takeaway yesterday is there's no reason that there shouldn't be more activity in the state of Wisconsin going after those federal dollars that were positioned, and it's just a matter of getting in the queue for some of those programs. So if you have a chance, once we have the link from Fact, it's up already? Okay. We can send that link out to you, and would encourage you to kind of watch that and look at the information that she shared yesterday.
I did share the handouts with you yesterday from the meeting, so feel free to, if you are talking with anybody, feel free to share the information.
And then today at 3 p.m., if you're available, please join us for the Courtyard Senior Living right on the west side of McKee Farms Park there. We already did a ribbon cutting for the memory care portion of that development. Today it's for the assisted living. But if you can stop by and join us for the ribbon cutting and the grand opening, and really nice high quality senior housing, and a great use of those lots 53 and 54 that sat vacant there for a long time. So really good infill development. And I think that covers everything that I had.
Joyce, do you have anything?
I do. I sent
ahead.
out an appointment to everyone about the launch of the Dane County Regional Housing Study. So if you're able to attend, I know, it's an evening and it's difficult for some of you to get away, but we'll keep you updated as to where things are going. And in June, I plan to have Olivia Perry, who was one of the spearheads for the initiative, at the Housing Advisory Committee meeting. So if you want to hop on to that meeting and get an overview, I can send out a link.
Okay, thank you, Joyce.
Oh yeah, and if anybody, Jay, you weren't here yet, but I have magnets, and there's some at the front counter with the concert series, so make sure you attend. Oh, I guess I do have one update. So I had the opportunity to work on Buxton. Mike had a project that he wanted me to do for a broker that he was working with. So it's been really interesting to learn more about Fitchburg and potentials and opportunities. So we'll keep you posted. We're hoping that we actually get some good feedback from the broker once he shares the information that we put together for his meeting.
I would just piggyback on that. The prospect that we were doing some of the research and analysis for is grocery related specifically. And what's cool about the software is Joyce was able to go in and kind of look at other locations and examples and kind of determine the customer profile and how we align with their existing customer profile at other locations. And they've got all these slick names like the influencers being influenced and these demographic cohorts and everything. And so it's fun to kind of see it, but we align very well, with one particular prospect that we're looking at where we have their customer profile. The question becomes, in some areas that we're looking at for a potential location for them, do we have enough yet of those, customers? I think that software, we'll see what reaction we get from a broker, and then I'm also meeting with an actual developer that we're going to share that same information. So we'll be curious to see if it helps to pique their interest to look seriously at maybe a potential development project in our community.
Mike and Joyce, since we have a new member in the committee, you may want to, I don't know, Jay, do you know about the Buxton software that we are using?
I know that we approved a bill
Okay.
for it.
I figured you did, but I at least wanted to ask, so we do have a new member and everybody knows what's going on. So we look forward to seeing how that's going to help us with our future development. So thank you.
So one thing that I haven't learned yet, but in preparation for that meeting, the software company that I'm working with, they actually did a report, and it was the coolest thing I've ever seen. They had details as to who went into this particular store, where they went after they were at the store. It was just amazing, all the information that they were able to grasp just by a cell phone ping.
Yeah.
So it was cool. Once I learned some more about, and if this all comes together, we'll be happy to share with you the packet of material that we shared. I was hoping I could be in the meeting because I would have had it sold.
Okay, well, thank you, Joyce. Anything else, Mike and Joyce, in your report?
Oh, I guess I do have
Go
two
ahead.
other things. We need a CETA representative for the Housing Advisory Committee and for the Healthy Neighborhoods. Would you like to stay on? We can talk about that at the next meeting. So if you're interested, we'll need that. We'll make those decisions at the next CETA meeting, but that will be on our agenda.
Okay. All right. That will be the May meeting. Okay. Anything else from Mike and Joyce? We will move to the next item on our agenda, which is any announcements from the committee members. Okay. I look forward to learning more personally about the Parisi thing yesterday. I looked at it last night, and that's really got some good information in there, both for homeowners and future homeowners, as well as what's going on around the community. I will ask one from Mike and Joyce that we go back and revisit in the future. At one time, we talked a lot, both at the chamber and here, about the redevelopment of the Alliance Center. And I don't know if that's with Parisi changing over, if that's dead, if they're still doing something over there, looking to do, because our Southdale neighborhood now bumps into it. And I don't know, I'd just like to know in the future, do we know what's going on, if anything? And you guys might know anything, if you even know anything at all. It's just a question more than anything else.
Yeah, I can check in with some people on the status
Okay.
of that. I know that there was a steering committee that was continuing to work on that. I just don't know exactly where the status of it right now, but I've got somebody that I can check with that would know.
Again, I just think it'd be nice to know, because I think it will bump into what we at Southdale. So
Yes.
anyway, So does any of the other committees members have any announcements or issues or questions? Okay. Well, hearing none, we're going to end early. I will welcome you back to the committee, Jay. Look forward to your feedback and input, and I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Jay and seconded by Andy. We're not going to discuss this one. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you, folks.